All right. So before we begin, just the standard PSA. Please mute yourselves to make a optimal learning experience and listening experience for everyone. And also would like to thank our sponsors for sponsoring the Kiddush Food for Thought for this week. Claire and David Ellman sponsoring to thank all the volunteers as a part of the Adat Errands group that are running errands for one another, and it's a beautiful chesed that's taking place in the community, being coordinated by Bela Ertel, and we thank them for sponsoring the class and keeping us together like this. And also in honor of all of our graduates, this tremendous milestone, definitely under the current climate educationally, is a major accomplishment to be able to graduate and learn and move on to the next stage of life, even with everything going on, is something that needs to be celebrated. And tonight in Parshas, we're going to learn about Parshas Beha'alotcha. And in Parshas Beha'alotcha, there are a number of different things that we could discuss. It was actually when I was preparing this class, I had a dream that every teacher, every Rebbe dreams of, is that there are too many things you want to speak about and too many full things you want to speak about. So you have to be able to narrow down. So you're just picking gold from gold. And it's, so tonight we're going to pick, I decided, we'll just go with the first thing that comes up, the first thing that jumps off the page in Parshas Beha'alotcha. That's what we're going to discuss this evening. The Torah tells us in Parsha Beha'alotcha, where the commandment of Aaron HaKohen to light the menorah inside the Beis HaMikdash. Vayedaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. If you could see my screen, give me a thumbs up. Just so I know it's all good. Okay. Vayedaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. That God told Moshe the following: Daber al Aaron va'amarte elav. Go speak to Aaron and tell him Beha'alotcha es haneros, that you should mount the lamps of the menorah el mul pnei menorah. Ya'iru Shivas Haneros, that the menorah has 7 branches. Okay, fine. The Askin Aaron, the Torah continues by describing what Aaron did, and that he took the menorah, and okay, fine, and he fulfilled this commandment of lighting the menorah inside the Beis HaMikdash, lighting the 7-branch menorah that stood inside of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. Then it was still in Mishkan, the traveling Mishkan, and then it was made permanently inside of the temple in Jerusalem, inside the Beit HaMikdash. So Rashi, very often, a style that Rashi will bring to his commentary on Chumash is that he'll try and connect episodes. Where why does this episode exist next to this episode? Like a famous example of that is coming up in next week's Parsha, where we have the Parsha of Shlach that comes right after the episode of Miriam at the end of this week's Parsha, where Miriam spoke Lashon Hara, and next week we speak about the Meraglim, the spies going into Israel. What's the connection between the two? Rashi tells us what the connection is. So Rashi in this week's Parsha does the same thing. Rashi tells us, take a look at this right side of the screen, Lama Nismacha Parshas HaMenorah LeParshas HaNesiim. Rashi asks, why is it that the Parsha, the episode of the menorah, the obligation for Aaron to light the menorah, for the Kohen to light the menorah inside the Beis HaMikdash, why does that exist? Why is that placed next to the episode of the Karbanos of the Nesiim? The Nesiim were the tribal leaders that brought their Karbanos as part of the inauguration ceremony of the Mishkan. The inauguration ceremony of the tabernacle came along with certain gifts that were brought by the Nesiim, by the tribal leaders. So why is it that episode of the Nesiim bringing their karbanos, bringing their offerings, why does that come right next to the episode of Aaron being commanded to go light the menorah? That's Rashi's question. So Rashi gives us the following answer. Lefi shekishara Aaron chanukas hanesiim. Because when Aaron saw all of the Nesiim bringing their offerings, all these tribal leaders bringing their karbanos to the Mishkan, chalsha az da'ato. Technically, that means he became depressed. Aaron became depressed when he saw all this taking place. Why? So Rashi tells us, Shelo haya imahem b'Chanukah, because he was not part of the ceremony. Lohu v'lo shivto. He was not part of the ceremony. The Shevet Levi was not part of the ceremony. Why? Because the Shevet Levi were the one that were facilitating the ceremony, right? We know that the Shevet of Levi is the tribe that was given the holy task of the ones that are running the Beis Hamikdash. They're the ones that are the Kohanim that are bringing all of the sacrifices. The Leviim are the ones that are working the Beis Hamikdash. So they're the ones that are making sure that everything's functioning. They're the operational staff of the Beis Hamikdash. So they weren't the ones bringing the offerings. They were the ones that were facilitating the offerings for all of the other tribal leaders and the other tribes that were bringing their offerings. So Aaron got upset. He was depressed that he wasn't able to bring his offering. So then comes along God, Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, blessed be He, says to Aaron, Chayecha, that by your life, Shalcha Gedola Mishalahem, that your lot is greater than theirs, Sha'atamad Lekumetiv Esaneros, because you have the holy duty of being able to light the menorah. It's a very strange Rashi for obvious reasons. Why? Two basic obvious things that Rashi said to us that seem very off. Number one is, why would Aaron be upset for the fact that he wasn't able to bring the karbanos? He wasn't involved with it. What does it say? Shelo haya imahem. He wasn't with them b'Chanukah. He wasn't part of the inauguration. Lohu v'lo shifto, not him, not his shevet, not his tribe. Hold on one second. Aaron HaKohen was the leader of the Kohanim. He was the Kohen Gadol. And all of the Kohanim, his entire family, were involved in facilitating each of these karbanos. So one could argue and say that Aaron didn't take a back seat. Without Aaron, none of this would have even happened. They wouldn't have had the ability to bring the karbanos if there weren't any Kohanim, if there weren't any Leviim. So what do you mean, Lo haya imahem? He wasn't with them. He was directly involved in this. So why is Rashi telling us that Aaron was upset because he wasn't a part of this ceremony? That's number one. Number two is that, okay, even if you say that, you know what, Aaron, even though he had the opportunity to be the one that's facilitating these karbanos, but he didn't get to bring his own. Okay, fine. I could hear it. That, all right, I wish I would have been able to bring my own, but why is he getting depressed about it? Chol sha'az da'ato. He got depressed about it. Seems like a bit of an extreme reaction. I understand that you want to, I wish I, was a Kohen. The classic joke that a person comes over to the rabbi and says, I want to become a Kohen. Sorry, that's not the way it works. No, I really want to become a Kohen. Sorry, it's not the way it works. I'll give you a huge donation. No, it's not the way it works. I'll take care of I'll burn the mortgage of the shul if you let me be a Kohen. Okay, fine. So, I'll let you be a Kohen. Let me ask you, why do you want to be a Kohen so badly? Because my father was a Kohen. My grandfather was a Kohen. Yeah, so it's the classics. Okay, so I really, really want to be a Kohen. It's not going to happen. So why is Aaron getting so depressed over the fact that he wasn't able to bring this carbon? Sorry, Aaron, this one's not for you. It's for other people. And not only that, we have a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that teaches us, Ezu Ashir Hasamech Bechalko. Who is rich? One who's happy with their lot. Aaron HaKohen should have been thrilled of the fact that he has the role of being a Kohen that's able to facilitate all this. Why is he getting depressed over the fact that he's not able to bring one carbon? So Rav Ruderman, who was the Rosh Yeshiva and actually the founder of Yeshivas Ner Yisrael in Baltimore, Rav Ruderman was a student in the Yeshiva of Slobodka, actually when he was still in Europe in Slobodka. When he was in Slobodka, actually his wife was very ill. He spent many nights sitting by her bedside while doctors would come to give her treatments, and it was a very, very difficult time in their life. But what's it's just incredible, though, that during that period that Rav Ruderman's wife was very ill, and he would sit by her bedside with her for days, weeks on end. During that period, he actually wrote a sefer. He wrote an entire book on analytical understandings of the Rambam, like a very like almost like a very high level academic work that came from that period. It's called Avodas HaLevi. He happened to be from the tribe of Levi. He was a Levi, like Aaron HaKohen. But during that period, he wrote and worked through some of the most difficult areas of the Talmud. It's just unbelievable to think about how one is able to find strength during times like that. So Rav Ruderman gives the following explanation for Rashi, that Aaron is, all the questions we asked are assuming the premise that Aaron was a regular person, a Benoni. We know that there are three types of people in Judaism. Basically, three places a person can stand in their avodas Hashem. A person could be a tzaddik, right? A very, very righteous person. A person could be a rasha, a very wicked person. And then a person could be a Benoni, an average person, which the Rambam says everyone is supposed to view themselves as if they're a Benoni, right? And he was talking to himself also. Everyone's a Benoni. We're all somewhere in the middle. It's very, very rare that you'll find a pure tzaddik. Very rare that you'll find a real rasha, which is a conversation for another time, where it's really rare to find someone who's an actual rasha. Because in order to become a rasha, you need to have done something that was inherently evil. But one could argue and say that we are all products of where we come from, and God creates us with certain dispositions. So it could be that one could blame their wicked behavior, that it's not inherently evil, but rather it's a behavior that's inherent within them that's very difficult for them to control. So don't call me a rasha. I have a problem. Right? So it's very difficult then to find a pure wicked person, an actually wicked person, right? So most people, 99% of the people, fit somewhere in the middle as a Benoni, an average person. Says Rav Ruderman, Aaron, though, was a tzaddik. For a tzaddik, every single opportunity to do a mitzvah is something to go crazy over. If you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah and you it gets lost from you, or you see other people connecting with God and you are missing out on it, it will drive you nuts. It will drive you crazy. It'll make you depressed. That you're just so jealous of the fact, like, I can't believe that they have this opportunity to connect with God. I wish I can. That God needed to come and console Aaron by telling him, don't worry, you get to light the menorah kiner mitzvah v'torah. Or it says the pasuk in Mishlei that the menorah represents, the light of the menorah represents both mitzvos and Torah. It represents something even bigger. It's something within the entire picture, the full picture of Torah. And so God needed to be able to somehow console Aaron, to somehow appease him, because for Aaron, the fact that he was missing out on something was something that he couldn't handle. The fact that he was missing out on connecting to God in that way is something that was too much for him to bear. Because someone who's a tzaddik understands the true essence and value of every single mitzvah. Every single mitzvah provides itself another opportunity to connect with God. I want to show you this amazing Gemara in Brachos, and I'm sure it's a Gemara that many of you are familiar with. We actually discussed it a few weeks ago when we spoke about Rabbi Akiva in the Wednesday night Great Debates class. But I want to point out one word that's used here in this story that we didn't highlight then, that I'd like to highlight now, that really brings this idea home. B'shah she'yotzu es Rabbi Akiva lahariga. Rabbi Akiva was captured by the Romans. And they brought him to kill him. They captured him and sentenced him to death for teaching Torah. Zman Kriyash Mahaya. At the time that they took Rabbi Akiva to go kill him, it was the time to say the Shema. Sorkin es besaro b'masriko shel barzel. And at the time, they were raking his flesh with iron combs. And at that moment, V'haya, at that moment, Mekabel alav ol malchus shamayim. At that moment, he accepted upon himself the yoke of heaven, meaning he said the Shema while they were tearing his flesh with iron combs. So Amr lo Talmidav, the students said to their Rabbi Rabbeinu, Rabbi Akiva, Ad Khan, like, you have to go to that extreme place that even under those circumstances you have to say the Shema, you have to do Avodas Hashem, you have to connect with God even then. Like, God gets it. He understands if you take a little bit of a break while you have evil Romans that are raking your skin apart. Like Ad Khan, you have to go to that extreme. Amr Lahem, he says to them, Kol Yamai Hayisi Mitztayer, that my entire life I was worried al Pasuk Zeh, on the following Pasuk where it says, B'chol Nafshecha Afilu Notel Es Nishmasecha, that even when they are taking your soul away, they're taking your life away, you have to be able to connect with God, B'chol Nafshecha, with your entire soul. Obviously, this is a level of tzidkus that's very, very hard to reach, and we have to read this Gemara each at our own levels, which is basically that in times of challenge, we have to be able to connect with God. I once heard one of my Rabbeim, Rav Meir Goldwich, who was actually our Masada Kedushin. He married me and Brooke, he once mentioned to me, he said, why do you think it is that we say the Shema while covering our eyes? Why do we have to say the Shema while covering our eyes? So the Gemara tells us that it's the time that when we cover our eyes, that's when we're makabel upon ourselves the Ol Malchus Shamayim. We accept upon ourselves the yoke of heaven, that we recommit ourselves, we reaffirm that commitment to God and to His Torah. But why is that we have to cover our eyes? So Rav Goldwich thought homiletically it's because that it's supposed to represent that even when things are dark, we have to be able to accept upon ourselves that it comes from God, and we have to commit ourselves to God and to His Torah. So each in our own way, Rabbi Akiva is giving us a model that during difficult times, we connect ourselves to God, b'chol nafshecha, with our entire soul, afilu notel es nishmasecha, even when they are taking your life away. But I'd like to point out one word over here, that it's not simply that Rabbi Akiva did this when the time presented itself. But kol yamai, look at these words, kol yamai, my entire life, hayisi mitztaer. My entire life, I was mitztaer. Mitztaer means that I was tortured, meaning I was worried, I was nervous my entire life that I would never be able to fulfill this mandate. Because for Rabbi Akiva, every single mitzvah, Rabbi Akiva wasn't looking for people to capture him and torture him to death just so that he could say the Shema. That was not on his bucket list. But what was on his bucket list was that every single opportunity to connect with God that presents itself to me, I want to be able to do it. Hayisi mitztayer. It made me nervous that I would never be able to connect with God in this way. Now the opportunity presents itself. How could I not do it? Hayisi mitztayer. I was nervous, just like Aaron Acoin. Chalsha es dato, that he became depressed because he saw other people connecting with God in a way that he couldn't. This is a theme that we find by tzaddikim, that this is really a model that we have to apply to ourselves. Again, like I said, each in our own way, to be able to take the opportunities that we have and capitalize on them, get the most out of them, and connect with God every single opportunity that we can. The Gemara tells us another story. Gemara Maseches Brachos and Daf Yud Zayin. Amar le Rabbi Ilah. Rabbi Ilah said to those they were traveling from Babel up to Eretz Yisrael. Ula, he said to Ula, Ki alisa lahasam, when you go up to Eretz Yisrael, shal b'shalmei d'Rabruna achi. Go find out what's going on with my brother Rabbi Bruna. Rabbi Bruna, just go check on him, go see how he's doing. B'mamad shel kol chabura. He's the one that sits with the Chabura who learned Torah. Okay, fine. He told them how to find them. Okay. Why do you have to go check on him? The Adam Gadolhu, because he is a great person. He's a Gadol. He's a gadol b'Yisrael. He's a righteous person. You have to go check on him because he's a gadol. How do I know he's a gadol? Because v'sameach b'mitzvos. Because he gets very happy. He gets excited every time he has an opportunity to do a mitzvah. How do I know? Because zim nechada, because there was one time where he was samach geula l'tfila, where he fulfilled the mandate of connecting the last bracha of the Shema, the bracha of Tzur Yisrael, Kuma Bi'ezras Yisrael, V'tekenu Mecha Yuda V'Yisrael, Go'aleinu, Hashem Tzvakos, Et Shmo Yisrael, Baruch Ata Hashem, Go'al Yisrael, that bracha, Baruch Ata Hashem, Go'al Yisrael, straight into the Shmona Esrei of Hashem Sfasai Tiftachu Fi Agitilatecha, Baruch Ata Hashem. That he connected those two brachos, which is a mandate from the Talmud that's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, and he accomplished that mitzvah of doing it. V'lo pasik chucha mipume kol yoma, and the entire day the smile never left his face. That the entire day the smile never left his face because he was able to accomplish that mitzvah of samach gula tefillah. That's how I know he was a great person, because every single opportunity, even the small ones, even just something that the average person does every time they daven shachars, they connect those two blessings. Something like that for Rabbi Bruna was like winning the lottery. It was a tremendous opportunity. They tell us stories. They tell the exact same story about tzaddikim even of today. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach once came home from shachars, and he walks into the house and he's radiant. Like he literally looks like he just won the lottery, or looked like there was a tremendous simcha. So the family asked him, they said, what's going on? Like, who got engaged? Who got married? Who had a baby? Tell us. So what? He said, well, no, it's just, it just happens to be that today it was the first time where I davened Shmona Esrei and I concentrated on every single word. Like that was equivalent to winning the lottery for him. He didn't say it's as if I won the lottery. You were able to tell on his face. It was like he was dancing in the streets. He was radiant. Because every single opportunity that presents itself is something you have to capitalize, and something that you have to recognize how incredible of an opportunity it is to connect with God. Can you imagine? We talk about it so much that it almost becomes diluted. Where every time we go to pray, we're standing in front of God. We have the opportunity to ask him for anything we want. We have an opportunity to fill him in on our lives. And not that he doesn't know about it already, but an opportunity for us to be able to express it to him, to be able to say thank you to him. When we learn Torah, when we do mitzvos, we're doing the command of the Melech Malchei HaMalachim, the king of all kings, the master of the universe, the creator of the world, the one who is allowing my heart to beat right now and my eyes to see, my lips to move, and my mind to think. I have an opportunity countless times during the day to pray to him, to learn his Torah, to do his mitzvos. Each time we should reevaluate the opportunity. And I want to just close. There's a lot more to get to, but we ran out of time. I just have to share this, that I was once walking Rav Shechter Shlita, my Rabbi, is one of the great poskim in the United States. So it was right after I finished learning the laws of mourning, and I at the end of my learning, whenever I finish any topic in learning, so I write down. I have a notebook where I keep my questions that I had, so that way when I'm finished, I'm able to go over to Rav Shechter, and now I call him on the phone. But then when I was in yeshiva, I'd go over to him and I'd run through my list of questions. Like a teacher says in class, save your questions to the end, write them down. So that's kind of like what I did. So that way I'd make sure every single question I had, I'd be able to speak to Rav Shechter about. So I finished learning the laws of mourning. I take, my questions, about, 10 questions I had, and I go over to Rav Shechter at the end of Seder at 6:30 in the afternoon. I go over to him and I said to him, would Rabbi mind if I walked you home, and while we're walking together, that I'd be able to ask you these questions? He said, of course. So we're walking down 185th Street, in Washington Heights, down to Broadway, down that big hill. and I'm going through the different questions, and after we finished all the questions, it was an amazing conversation. He filled me in a lot of different things. I have a lot of stories from that conversation, but at the end of the conversation, he says to me, don't feel depressed when you learn the laws of mourning, because every single opportunity to learn Torah is something that's amazing. So I said to him, I said, Rabbi, isn't there a statement by the Sefer Haredim who makes that same point? The Sefer Haredim is a 17th century work from Ashkenaz that also happens to be that the author of the Sefer Haredim wrote the song Yedid Nefesh. So the Sefer Haredim it's a halachic work, whatever. So I said to him, I said, Rebbe, isn't there a comment from the Sefer Haredim that says that exact thing, that one should not be depressed when they learn the laws of mourning, because it's, So he said to me, he said, really? The Sefer Haredim says that? I said, yeah. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm teaching something to Rav Shechter. Oh, it's so cool. So he says to me, he says, wow, it's amazing, because the Sefer Hasidim says the same thing. There's another work which is written by one of the Rishonim in the 13th century, written by, it's a sefer called the Sefer Hasidim. It's quoted in the Beis Yosef. It's like a very famous work that's learned heavily, and it obviously dawned on me at that moment that it wasn't I was just mixing up the names of the two works, that it wasn't the Sefer Haredim that said it, but rather it was the Sefer Hasidim that said it. So I said, I corrected myself. I said, oh yeah, Rebbe's right. No. I just mixed things up. It was the Sefer Hasidim. So he just had a smile on his face the whole time. He didn't make me feel bad about it. He was just, oh yeah, okay, fine. Thank you so much for walking me. I had a nice conversation. Fine, I walk home. And I was thinking to myself afterwards, because you have to understand, when I told Rav Shechter that the Sefer Haredim said it, the excitement he got was not, the kid got it wrong. The excitement he got was, oh my gosh, I can't believe that there's a Sefer Haredim that says that. I never knew that before. Can you teach it to me? Like talking to me, a 22-year-old kid. Can you tell me what the Sefer Haredim says? I never knew it. Because every single opportunity is something that's exciting for him. It doesn't matter what the source is. It doesn't matter, who's teaching to him. It doesn't matter. Okay, fine, son, I got it wrong. And okay, fine, he cleared the air. But the fact that there was a potential of an opportunity for him to learn a little bit more Torah was something that was so exciting to him, something so inviting to him. So, I wanted to share this piece of Torah, because, there's a lot going on in the news. There's a lot going on, in the world right now. And it's just important for us to kind of take a step back and just recognize what's our role in this world. What are the opportunities that we have to focus on in this world? And to recognize that when I have an opportunity to connect with God, it's also an opportunity to turn off my news feed. It's an opportunity to shut the WhatsApp, an opportunity to close the Facebook, to close the laptop, to be able to sit and daven, learn, do a mitzvah. And through that, I'm able to, like Rabbi Bruna, you have a smile on your face all day. You could set up your day, your week, month, year in a completely different way if we focus on this. All right, everyone, have a wonderful Shabbos. We'll have to stop here for now. You could all turn on your mics, and if anyone has any questions, hang on for another.
Thank you.